natural and synthetic paths to peace and prosperity. So the word perfume comes from the Latin, which means through smoke. Perfumes have reflected to be one of the oldest uses of aromatic materials. Hundreds of aromatic chemicals till date have been used, whereby each contribute to a characteristic odor. And this use of perfumes start from ancient Egyptians. So the trend to the generation and the next generation and the next generation, it comes from the ancestry, from the ancient Egyptian culture. There have been several techniques that have been incorporated till date in extracting certain raw materials from certain sources, mostly from natural sources. So there is something called as expression technique, whereby it is only used for citrus oils, for example, lemon, orange, and bergamot, such plant sources. And perfume materials obtained through expression technique were classified to be as expressed oils. So, for example, lemon or an orange peel, press it hard. So the fine spray of that respective oil gets released. And that is what is called as an expressed oil, and this is called as expression technique. The other is steam distillation, whereby hot steam was made pass through the plant material in order to let the hot steam release certain aromatic molecules from those plant materials. Once that happened, they were then separated from the water using a flask, using a Florentine flask. And this separated them based on their different densities. So the perfume materials which were made or extracted using this technique were classified to be as essential oils. The other most flourished technique, at least in ancient Egyptian culture, was enfleurage, which was basically a technique used to extract perfume ingredients from plant materials and exudates. So exudates are basically complex mixtures of plant origins with semi-solid consistency, solid or semi-solid consistency, like for example raisins and gums and so on. So the proportion of their constituents, they might vary with climate, with season and so on. The other most profound technique, even especially in the modern age, is the solvent extraction technique, whereby different solvent and their combinations are being used to extract a certain perfume from the respective source. And this product of an extraction is called as a concrete or a resin oil. So the oil basically that is extracted using the solvent extraction technique can be deterpenated. Now, deterpenated meaning a terpene-less oil, and terpene-less oil meaning from which hydrocarbons have been removed. So basically the oil is made to have only oxygenated species. Now what is the use of that? So that the strength of its odor gets increased. So this was one of the beauty of solvent extraction technique. The modern age of perfumery, it began at around 20th century or so by the onset of Chanel NO5. So Mademoiselle Chanel, she wanted to develop a very unique type of a fragrance. So she asked the perfumer Ernest Bukes. And Ernest Bukes, for the first time, he incorporated aliphatic aldehydes to exhale the head notes of a composition rich in jasmine notes. So this incorporation of synthetic alternative to bring about a uniquality in the perfume revolutionized the modern age of perfumery. Many uh, successors and other perfumery houses, they began gaining inspiration from Chanel NO5 to experiment with synthetic materials from there on. So with this, now there came a notion where it was believed that paths traced by the fragrance industry and pharmaceutical industry are nearly identical. So, how is that possible? Now, in fragrance industry, after bringing in the synthetic alternative, what was observed was that it led to the development of quantitative structural activity relationship techniques, something which is very common when it comes to any of the pharmaceutical domain. So now what led to the development of this causal technique in fragrance industry? So there were two main reasons in bringing this unicality, and that was the material that demonstrate improved performance over natural ones could be discovered, and the second was the information about the structural requirements for the desired odor could be obtained. So there were general steps that involved in identifying synthetic alternatives to the natural ones, which are to identify available materials from nature, that is step 1. Step 2, to prepare an authentic sample once the molecular structure of an odorant is identified. And step 3, to prepare a range of analogues that are close to the structure but not identical to the natural parent. So for example, let's take an example of a jasmine flower that consists of a range of molecules for their textures, colors and so on, and we wish to prepare an odorant that would give a typical fragrance of a jasmine flower. So what are the chemical moieties that contribute to the odor? Those are jasmone and methyl jasmonate. Now, because of a cis double bond at the side chain, extra stages get introduced in processing and synthesizing this fragrance, this perfume from the jasmine flower, which ultimately leads to greater cost. So now, synthetic alternatives became a rather cheaper alternatives over here. So the synthetic alternatives to jasmine, like dihydrojasmone and jasmotone and methyl dihydrojasmonate, they became utilized. And their structure, because they resembled much to jasmine, they could be easily incorporated in uh, designing the desired fragrance that would give similar scent of jasmine flower as would the natural ones. The language of any perfumer is very much similar to that of the musician. In the language of a perfumer, the shelf of materials that are used as ingredients is referred to as an organ, and the individual ingredients are said to contribute notes to the overall composition. These notes are classified into three classes. Head notes, which comprises of most volatile ingredients, heart notes that comprises of bulk individual ingredients, and base notes that comprises of least volatile ingredients. So the head notes are derived from both natural as well as synthetic materials. Natural materials like citrus oils and herbs, and synthetic materials like aldehydes and monoterpene esters. Heart notes are originally derived from flower oils like rose, lily, and violet, whereas base notes fall into wood, musk, amber, and balsam such areas. Woody and amber materials, they have a very complex sesquiterpene-like structures, which holds a very precise stereochemistry. And this precise stereochemistry is what makes it even more important when it comes to determining odor type and quality. Any and every perfume will be comprising of all these three notes to make the total perfume last for the longer duration. But what makes it so is the base note. The base note is very important as it gives a good hold to the head notes to obstruct the immediate loss of volatile elements and make it last for as long as the total perfume lasts. By the end of the onset of modern age perfumery, certain ingredients, namely musk bear, musketone, and even phenolide, became a commercial success in perfumery industry. Plants are capable of emitting scents that can either attract or deter certain pollinators like bees. Because plants display changing odor profiles that can differ at various stages of floral development. These strategic odors convey the plant's reproductive status, facilitating more effective pollination. Bees rely heavily on floral scents to find blooming flowers because of their limited visual recognition abilities. This shows that the olfactory signals that are released by certain flowers are essential for helping the bees to navigate from a distance. Changes in these scents throughout the flowering cycle further enhances their guidance and directly affecting the foraging behaviors and preference of the pollinators. A particular chemical compound can also be released by a flower, which can mirror the scent that is produced by a female bee, which might attract the male pollinators seeking mate. Example, farnesyl hexanoate, which is associated with certain female bee species, is also emitted by spigots flowers in order to regulate mating behaviors and ensure effective pollination processes. This mimetic signal aids in the complex communication that occurs between plants and bees. The evolution of flowering plants has been greatly influenced by pollinators' capacity to learn and link specific floral scents to food sources. This learning enables pollinators to refine their foraging strategies, making them better at recognizing and returning to flowers that produce familiar and appealing odors. The perfume's raw materials are usually pure fragrance chemicals or crude extracts that are obtained by different procedures. Perfumers mix these raw materials to create a scent that would ultimately fulfill the customer's satisfaction. A perfume can be subdivided according to the content of the concentrate in the finished product, and this would depend on the raw materials that are extracted originally from natural or synthetic sources. Almost all cosmetic products contain fragrance chemicals, but in a much lower content than the fine fragrances. So the main function of this is to transmit a pleasant redolence to the user. So the perfume raw materials are added to cosmetic products for several reasons. One of the most important being to mask the other undesirable odors that must have persisted in the cosmetic product due to other materials. The other is in skin or hair care products, where sweet or tenuous notes are usually used. In case of toothpaste, highly refreshing power notes are preferred. Depending on the formulation, some perfumes could be incompatible with the cosmetic itself in terms of their solubilization problems, physical or chemical interactions with other ingredients, and so on. The type of cosmetic product overall conditions its aroma. Lastly, analytical tools that are used in perfumery industry are one of them being GCMS, used in determining the composition of a pure perfume sample, and the other is capillary GC, whereby PDMS and PEG columns are most often used to analyze the perfume sample with capillary GC after appropriate dilations. With the use of specific perfume KI and MS databases, any of the unknowns present in the sample analyte can be identified. So basically, this KI database holds KI values for a large number of volatile organic compounds that are found in perfumes and fragrances. These are basically retention index systems that are widely used in perfumery industry to identify and characterize fragrance compounds. Another database very important in perfumery industry is the MS databases, which is basically holding mass spectral information for thousands of fragrance compounds. Again, which can be very useful to identify and quantify the components in complex perfume formulation. The accuracy of the perfume formulation process in general is determined by the quality of the databases and the expertise of the formulators. Therefore, perfume analysis laboratories intend to spend a lot of time ensuring that their perfume KI and MS libraries are up to date, starting from by analyzing new perfume ingredients.